Hey there guys, I'm Mr. Luna here, just stopping by to share another video lesson with you. So today I wanted to cover a segment of the unit cognition. So within cognition we have this segment called problem solving, creativity, and language. And I just wanted to simply cover it today. So good morning to everybody as I mentioned, and I hope that everybody's doing well. It is Friday, so you guys get to rest a little bit. And also, you get to prepare for your AP exams, so you only have about a few more days to actually get your AP exams running. So keep that in mind. 2 more weeks and you guys are completely done with high school, so congratulations. That is amazing. That is something to look forward to and to be excited about. Also, there are some events coming up. I know that you guys will be picking up like your regalia on the 21st, but more details to come about that later on. I will be posting more details when I get those bits of information. So, but today I just simply wanted to cover cognition, as I mentioned. So let's go ahead and start it off. So we don't have to kill so much time. So we're talking about cognition, problem-solving methods, right? We need to know that when presented with an unknown situation, we actually utilize several methods to analyze the situation and act. So the majority of this activity takes place in the right hemisphere, the one that specializes in the unknown. Now, the right hemisphere helps us also with things like facial detection and very logical systems of language and things of that nature. So it's remember, the left side of the brain is the creative side, the right side of the brain is very, very logical. So a common method for solving a problem is the use of an algorithm. An algorithm is just a methodological, logical approach that guarantees solving a particular problem. Algorithms set all possible solutions to systematically solve the problem. So for example, if one was looking for a sweet chili sauce at the grocery store, right, you want some sweet chili sauce, going up and down every single aisle systematically from left to right would be an algorithm approach. It would actually solve your problem. But the thing is, it's a little time consuming. So therefore, heuristics, on the other hand, are a simple thinking strategy that often allows us to make judgments and educated guesses to solve problems efficiently. This is the preferred approach of humans, as it is far quicker than an algorithm. An example of a heuristic approach to finding the sweet chili sauce would be going directly to the condiment or ethnic food aisle, as it is likely in those areas. Now, additionally, one can experience an insight or a sudden realization of a problem solution. There's this researcher, Wolfgang Kohler, right? He pioneered insight research studies with his experiments on chimpanzees. Chimps were given a fruit out of reach, and eventually, with insight, used sticks to get the fruit. When chimps had the moment of insight, the clear electrical and chemical activity came from the right hemisphere associated with creativity. Now, the insight is essentially a light bulb moment. So I don't know if you guys remember, but we did watch some videos in regards to Wolfgang Kohler's studies, and it was the video on the chimpanzees who were actually trying to get the food that was right by them, but was a little bit hard to get, and they would come up with strategical ways to actually get through it and get the food. So now, one can also be impaired by mental sense through functional fixedness, a cognitive bias that limits a person's to using an object only the way that is traditionally used. So functional fixedness is just simply not seeing an object's way to help you aside from the one that it was built for. So for example, if you're perhaps, I don't know, you're, like right now, for example, I had to get like a little stand for my laptop because I'm doing this video outside, right? So the stand that I got, because I don't have a stand, it was actually 2 buckets. So I put a bucket inside another bucket, and then I flipped them, and now my laptop is on top of the buckets, and that is my little station for my laptop. So that is what we mean by overcoming functional fixedness. Awesome. So judgment. When problem solving, our brains tend to lean on quick, intuitive decisions or feelings. Our initial judgments are very, very poor way of accurately or thoroughly problem solving or making decisions. Nonetheless, they dominate human decision making and perception. So judgment, although it's based on intuition, it shouldn't be something that we pay attention too much to, because oftentimes intuition is always wrong. So intuition, for example, is an effortless, immediate, automatic feeling or thought as contrasted with explicit conscious reasoning. Judgments based on intuition lead smart people to make poor or uninformed decisions. Now, due to extensive research on moral psychology and judgments by Jonathan Haidt, we now know that decisions are based primarily on intuitive predispositions and rationalized after the fact. In other words, we don't make rational or thoughtful decisions. We make intuitive, feeling-based decisions and then justify them with post hoc realizations. Now, confirmation bias also profoundly misleads our judgments. We tend to almost exclusively, guys, use or remember information that confirms what we already believe and readily dismiss information that runs counter to our intuitions. So confirmation bias goes a long way. You can see it in research, you can see it in relationships. Confirmation bias can be something that is just so negative, and it's the downfall of success. So confirmation bias. Now, this also leads to belief perseverance, the clinging to one's initial conceptions after the basis on which they were formed has been discredited. An example of belief perseverance would be continuing to think that going outside with a jacket causes one to get a cold despite mountains of evidence linking colds not to temperatures, but not viral infection. Awesome. So yeah, with belief perseverance, it's like they prove you wrong, but even though you were proved wrong about whatever it was, you still hold on to your beliefs, and that's why it's called belief perseverance. Now, certain point of views, associations, or prior knowledge can also influence judgment in a negative or positive way, guys. Representative heuristics, right, for example, may cause one to judge the likelihood of events or situations based on stereotypes, cause them to miss or dismiss relevant information. So, for example, if shown a pit bull or a golden lab, many people prejudge the pit bull as more aggressive, when that they may not even know that's the case. Availability heuristic may also mislead us in regards to memory, as they cause us to estimate the likelihood of an event based on the availability of memory. For example, people rarely win big when gambling, but when availability of memory when one does win can mislead one to think they win more often than they actually do. So availability heuristic. Availability heuristic goes a long way. Overconfidence is another big one. So this is a tendency to be more confident than correct. So it may also evoke certainty in our judgments or abilities when the evidence or likelihood of success may not be as good or as we feel. So overconfidence is just feeling that sense of like, you got what it takes, you're good to go, y'all don't need to study, I'm good, I'm great, I'm always been an A student, I'm never going to get a B. And then boom, you get a B because you didn't study. Now, let's go ahead and talk about framing. So lastly, our judgment can also be impacted by framing of a situation or question. Framing is the wording or way an issue or question is posed. So for example, people are much less likely to agree to surgery if they are told their chances of dying at 10%, as opposed to hearing the surgery has a 90% success rate. The information is the same, but the framing of the information impacts one's intuition and therefore judgment. So all of these things work together. So it's very, very interesting how our memory works and how we go about making decisions and how we are influenced to make decisions. So now, creativity, right? Creativity is the ability to produce novel and valuable ideas. True creativity is incredibly rare, but as most humans are incapable of true novelty that also adds value to the lives of themselves and others. So regardless of an idea's novelty or value, we think it primarily two different ways: convergent and divergent thinking. So convergent thinking is thinking that narrows the available problem solutions to determine the single best solution. Most of this activity takes place in the left hemisphere, near the parietal lobes. An example of convergent thinking is set of correct or incorrect answers, such as 2 plus 2 equals 4. Now, divergent thinking, on the other hand, takes place mainly in the frontal lobes on the right hemisphere. It expands on the number of possible problem solutions diverging from one of a possible set of correct answers. So, in other words, it is thinking and searching for answers that have many different opinions. So, divergent thinking is very creative style of thinking, and convergent thinking is very logical, straight way of thinking. And I think earlier I misspoke and I said that the left hemisphere was the creative side, but actually I did misspeak. It's the right side that it's creative, and the left side is more logical. So left starts with an L, so that's also for logical, and then the right would be more for creativity. Now, one's own creativity and divergent thinking are innate and cannot be taught. So, additionally, prior to popular belief, an environment with rules and structure best fosters creative thought. In order for one's mind to wander and pursue answers and interests, one needs a stable, safe environment. Now, the comfort and safety of the contemporary society, relative to the lack of comfort and safety in the past, have allowed creative thought and innovative to exponentially increase. So, in other words, this has really impacted society and the relativity and the lack of comfort and safety in the past. So, just keep that in mind. Now, the biggest takeaways from this chapter, or like from this segment, is just simply understanding how we come about problem solving as human beings. So keep in mind all of the problem solving methodology that we undergo. So while one's creativity cannot be taught or trained, it can certainly be facilitated by optimal settings or factors to allow for free thought. Now, we should have expertise, imaginative thinking, a venturesome personality, intrinsic motivation, a creative environment, because if we have all these components, it is said that we are able to be more creative. So to have expertise is just to have a well-developed base of knowledge that provides more building blocks to which to create novel ideas and uses. Now, imaginative thinking is having mastered a problem's basic elements, right? We tend to redefine or explore it in a new way, allowing a different perspective to hit us. A venturesome personality seeks new experiences. It tolerates ambiguities and risks, and perseveres by overcoming obstacles. Now, intrinsic motivation, we've talked about it being internal, driven interest that the self wants. There's nothing outside the self that motivates but you and that thing you want. So intrinsic motivation is internal motivation. A creative environment also supports innovation, team building, and communication. Now, research by this one guy, Noam Chomsky, right? He discovered that human beings are actually predisposed to grammatical structures, which are called phonemes, morphemes, and grammar. While we are not born with a language, we are born with an innate ability to recognize, learn, and create language. Research in the realm of cognition furthered our understanding of language with the discovery of Broca's area, the area in the left hemisphere that controls language expression. So this area was discovered by Paul Broca far before Chomsky's ideas were developed. The Broca area of the frontal lobe directs muscle movements involved in speech. Now, Broca also discovered that damage in this region caused aphasia, the inability to understand or formulate language. This was discovered in patients with lesions on the Broca area. Now, and this is what we're talking about, the Broca area. This is the cerebellum, this is the frontal lobes, and this is where the Broca area would be at, kind of next to the temporal lobe. So now, while Broca's area deals with language production, Warnicke's area, on the other hand, discovered by Carl Warnicke, controls language reception or receiving language, and it plays a key role in language development. It is located in the temporal lobe on the left hemisphere. So these areas are very important for Broca, language production, and Warnicke, language reception. So they're extremely important for that. If you do get a blow or like damage, trauma to any of those areas, it would be hard to produce and to receive language. Awesome. So as we grow, we also follow a common path of cognitive development, particularly regarding language. So we first reach a babbling stage from about 4 to 10 months, which is a series of indescribable sounds and noises. By age 1, most are beginning to use a single word, right? From the age 1 to 2, we begin to actually start using those words. Two-word telegraphic sequences are used to communicate only essential nouns and verbs. The capacity to master language becomes more